Dr. T.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to have this opportunity to talk to you. I first like to let you know a little about me. I've been in El Paso since 1994. I'm a retired decorated Navy commander. Spent 20 years in the Navy, going all over the world. I've been in on every continent except Antarctica and Australia. And coming here today made me think about some of the environmental issues that we really need to address. And that was, I was coming down 10 from the Upper Valley, and I noticed the traffic was bumper to bumper. And I also looked at the number of people that were in the cars. And most of those cars were occupied by one person only. And I said, there has to be another way that we can do that. So, first thing came to mind was thinking about a way to develop a public transportation system that would meet our needs and impact the environment less.
Thank you. Manny,
Thank you very much for also inviting us and letting us have this opportunity, especially those of us who can't afford a whole lot of advertising. I'm born in Juarez, but raised in El Paso all my life. I was born an American citizen because my dad was American. And I came over here and I served my country, went to Sled High School, UTEP, got a master's degree in philosophy of education. And I kind of got involved with what I'm doing now because as I went to City Hall to learn about a controversial issue that was going on, I found an even bigger problem, and that is a financial catastrophe, in my opinion. There's a financial challenge coming from the federal level to the state level, and it's going to come to the local level very soon. It's already going to be affecting us. And we need someone like me, who, by the way, I'm a victim of the real estate debacle. You know, I'm living on 1/3 of what I used to make 3 or 4 years ago. But I still live on the west side, I have a nice house, and I drive a nice car, and I wear suits, and I can eat steak anytime I want. So I know how to make 3 times more out of the same money. Efficiency is my middle name. And I think before, you know, my main thing when I get to City Hall is not only to turn it into a fishbowl so that all of us, this is the 21st century, all of us should know what they're working on that affects our pocketbook. I don't like to read about it later. Last night I was watching the news, found out another $58 million for doing our streets when I thought there's already money for streets. That's just one example. But anyway, I want to go there and I want to show that before we do any cuts, we can always efficiency before cuts and always cuts before tax hikes. That's going to be my main thing. And I know I can do it. I've been a businessman for 20, 25 years, and I know I can turn, make it more efficiency and get more out of our tax dollars and report to you what we're doing with our tax dollars. Thank you very much.
thank you. Lyda Nespresso.
Thank you for having me here tonight. I know a lot of you probably know me already. I want to tell you that I have been socially involved and committed to both environmental and social justice issues since the moment I could vote. I have a demonstrated 20-year history doing this. My first job after college when I moved to Austin was working for the National Environmental Law Center, which was an offshoot of PERG, which was a Ralph Nader group. And one of the things we did is we sued companies to make them clean up after they cleaned it. It seemed very logical, but unfortunately it wasn't being done. And that's why I went to law school, because I wanted to practice environmental law. I found another passion in law school, which was child advocacy, and that has been what I've been doing ever since then. About 60% of my practice right now is representing children and families in child abuse and neglect cases. I can tell you, you're going to hear a lot of rhetoric always about leadership and vision and the political words that everybody likes to throw out. But what I can tell you about me is I'm not easily bullied. Any of you who know me know that I ask questions. I don't take anything that anyone takes me for granted. And I think that that's what's important in a city council person, is not to take what they've been given as the truth. I'm running a very grassroots campaign. If you look at my treasury report, you'll see it's neighbors, it's small businesses, it's people in the community who support me. It is not big money. And I was the one who asked for that open records request. I was the one who wanted to call our current representative on where her money is coming from. And it's clear that her vote is completely based on PAC money. And I make no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I can tell you I'm not beholden to special interests. And I can also tell you that I am very connected to my community. I was appointed to the MHMR board right now, And that's because we had lost faith in them, just like we're losing faith in a new board and what's going on there. So transparency is of absolute interest to me and is one of the foremost concerns I have. I also vow I'm going to be accessible, which is another big issue, and I think my time is up from the looks I'm getting from Stephanie. But thank you.
All right, I'm going to assume most of you know me, and if not, there are 4 individuals on the side there after here that can tell you about me.
What's your name?
Rick Schechter. And I advocacy various issues that you're interested in. But I want to chide you all this first off, that you pay attention maybe. We've had a lot of environmental issues here in town, and we've really gotten very, very little in the way of progress. And that's because you don't unite, okay? I don't care which one of us you decide is the best to support your issues, but when you leave tonight, you need to call all of your friends, all of the members in your organization, and tell them who it is that is the best person to represent the environmental issues here in District 1, right? Because we can't do it. We don't have the funds, we're not connected to those people that other candidates are connected to, so we can't get the word out. But if you get the word out for us, you'll get a representative that is sensitive to the environmental issues and will get some work done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we're going to start with questions now. In fact, I'd like you to, candidates, we'll start with him, since he was last to give his opening statement. Rick will be the first to respond. When you ask a question, you can't ask it to one specific person, but we are going to give everyone a chance to respond. Go ahead.
I'm Roy Aldrich. I just spent $35,000 on a solar system for my house. I got panels across the roof. Also, a little background, I'm retired military, highly decorated, Korean War veteran, and I'm a sergeant. I came here to hear about solar. So far, I've heard political rhetoric.
What's your question, sir?
My question is this. What are you going to do to marry, and it has to be a marriage, between the environmentalists who want to hold us back on certain issues and the progressive, or not progressive, I want to say the commercial people who want to advance? Everywhere I've been, it's been a direct bang. Rocky Mountains. I came, and I want to know what we're going to do. I'm tired of hearing, and also I'm tired of paying my taxes, like everybody else, when I find out that almost 60% of the taxes in El Paso are property taxes, not commercial taxes. So we need to, residential. So we need to get a level plane going.
Okay.
I live on the west side. Give me some light rail system or monorail system. We got a straight line.
Okay, thank you so
All right,
much, Mr.
thank you
Aldrich.
very
Really
much.
appreciate it. We got a
I've
question
got to
here.
go, I'm sorry.
All right, well, you want to stay and listen to the answer?
I'll listen to the answer.
Okay. So first we have a question about solar energy. And
I'm going to assume, because I think you or somebody like you was down at City Hall a couple of weeks ago complaining about a rebate that's not a rebate, and what do you? Okay.
No, sir, I was out of town.
Well, I'm going to assume the question here is, what are we going to do about solar? And my answer to that is, and I told City Council this, if you want solar, why don't you just start a company funded by the municipality to generate solar energy? Right? I mean, why not do it yourself instead of depending on El Paso Electric to get it done for you? Because, quite frankly, El Paso Electric isn't going to get it done. Right? So we have a utility that, as far as I understand the laws of solar energy generation, if it gets into the transmission line, the company, El Paso Electric, has to purchase it. Has to. So if we build a solar energy plant, we get an automatic person to buy it, company to buy it. We make money, we use that money, and eventually we could branch out and actually do other kinds of energy-related wind farm and so forth. but let's own our own utility, our own solar plant. Thank you.
I guess it was sort of a two-part question. Philosophically, I've never understood why people have to say that business and prosperity are antithetical to preserving the environment. It's not like reinventing the wheel. There are so many metropolitan areas around the United States that, to use your word, marry those two very effectively. So I don't think that it has to be an opposition. In regards to solar energy, trust me, the last couple of weeks have been an education for me. It's like the Big Bang Theory for me, trying to understand electric rates. And I understand the electric company keeps saying the rates are set by Austin, or by the state. They're set centrally, and I understand that. However, what is clear is that they have the flexibility right now and the discretion right now to give their own rebates, to give their own reductions in terms of the energy that comes back onto the grid. And that isn't being done. Now, in terms of what pressure could be done or imposed, I suppose, by City Council, I'm all for that, because I do think we have to look at sustainable energy. You know, gas is going to rocket. We have to look to the future. One of the things I can tell you is that I actually respectfully don't agree with Mr. Schechter. I don't agree with the city getting involved. I like small government. I don't want to see the city buying the electric company, buying anything. They need to do what they do well, which is public safety and public health issues, and stay out of my life as much as they can. So that's my position on that issue. And I hope that answers the question.
El Paso has a tremendous amount of energy through solar energy. I'm surprised we haven't done more sooner. I have to talk about the electric company because I have been at the Tuesday meetings almost every Tuesday the last few months. When I hear solar energy and I think electric company, because they've been up there being part of this program or trying to impede it, depending on your view. But they still haven't stepped up to the plate for the mistake and the debacle that we suffered at the end of February. You know, when they put 85% of their profits, and this is all about holding them accountable and not letting them interfere with our solar growth, but rather using them or having them help us develop our solar energy. Because 85% of their proceeds went to their pockets and only 15% to the maintenance of the factory, of the plants that went bad, the water supply went bad, and 26,000 homes didn't have water and broken pipes and everything. So they are in the woodshed as far as I'm concerned, and they need to step up to the plate and really come through with this solar plan and help us on that.
First, I'd like to say I've spent some time at City Hall, and I've heard the proponents of solar energy talk. One of the things I would like for them to do is to make the rhetoric understandable for everyone. We're asking that we use that as an alternative energy source, but we got to get the common people on board so they understand the value of solar energy and how it will impact them positively. I think solar energy needs to be made affordable. It should not be a resource that is available to only a few. I think we can develop a plan where everyone who wants to use that as a source of energy will be able to afford it. And perhaps one of the things is, as I understand it now, that you have to go through some system to get it installed. Why not allow individuals who can afford it not only purchase it, but install themselves? And that will cut price. So yes, let's look at using solar energy as an alternative resource, but let's first educate our constituents so they understand the pros and cons and the value that it will add to their standard of living and quality of life, and allow them to have input in purchasing and installing it themselves.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. Next question, if you'll hold on to the microphone. Next question?
Thank you all very much. I'm sorry that we do that.
Great question, thank you, sir.
She's got a question here.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a question. How are you guys gonna plan? I know that I've talked to a lot of people from Austin and from the solar area and electricity. So how are you planning to? Is there maybe a process of you guys deregulating the area? I don't know if many of you guys know this, but a Paso is regulated, so we have a set rate because somebody submitted a state representative bill or some sort, and our community is actually, you could say, monopolized by El Paso Electric. So is there any plans of maybe deregulating the area and having options for El Pasoans to choose the electricity from another sponsor other than El Paso Electric? For you guys, is that an option? Or how are you guys working towards that initiative? Anybody?
The history of El Paso Electric is a rather colorful history. But bottom line was they went and invested in all sorts of things that weren't related to electricity generation, and they went bankrupt. And as part of the bankruptcy proceedings, it was their rates were raised very high, and the citizens of El Paso were required to purchase from El Paso Electric and bring them back onto health, which we've done. And that ended, that mandate really ended about, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. At which time the city council had the option of buying El Paso Electric and making it a municipal electric company, which they chose not to do. Since then, El Paso Electric, as an independent company, has been doing everything they can to raise their profit and keep other suppliers and their monopoly intact. And every time we try and go and break that monopoly, we're told that, and this is true, it's just that we're not getting any closer to it. El Paso, the way electricity flows is through different power grids, and we're connected in El Paso to the western, I think it's called the Western Power Grid, which goes from El Paso west. And the rest of Texas is connected to some other power grid, which goes just to the east of us and back to the central states. And the two are not connected. So there's no way for the people outside of El Paso that generate electricity to tie into the system that would allow them to bring electricity to El Paso. So the answer to trying to get competitive here is to make that connection between the two grids. And of course, El Paso Electric is not very fond of doing that. And so they've been putting stumbling blocks in the way every time it comes up. And our city council members have simply sat on their chairs and not done anything to push that. So that's why we don't have a competitive market here. The last thing that was done was about 5 months ago, I think. El Paso Electric came out with their plan for getting competitive, and it listed a whole bunch of things in the state statutes and whatever, and it looked like it was going to take 125 years to get done. That's my assessment. But that's why we don't have competitive electric power here in El Paso.
Thank you, Rick. And I want to go ahead and ask a question that was sent in earlier from Northwest Porter. Would you support the petitioner's efforts to save the 742 acres of the Northwest Master Plan along Trans Mountain Road?
You want just yes or no, or do we get a minute?
You still have time to answer. You can elaborate just a smidge.
The first thing that needs to happen is we need to, this is my position, we need to reverse the Woody Hunt and Company freeway called Trans Mountain Road. Because if you don't reverse that, it doesn't really matter what you do with that 700 plus acres. Because they will get developed the same way every other place in El Paso has gotten developed. So the first thing, I've got 2 things on my list if I'm elected. The first thing, it used to be 1, which was reverse Trans Mountain decision. Now it's 2 because yesterday the city council voted to increase your taxes by adding $62 million in COs or more debt, which will raise your taxes by about 4 cents. So both of those have to be done. But the first thing is to reverse Trans Mountain. Otherwise, there's no reason to expect that we could even save 1 acre of that 700 acres.
I fully support the maintenance of those acres in terms as open spaces. I think, I'm sorry.